Alright, this is Lab 5C. We found on a Linux system that was on our target network that there was a VSFTPD service that was there, and it was at a vulnerable state. It had a version number to it that we know we can exploit and take advantage of. We're going to go ahead and perform that process again. We're going to use Metasploit to do this. First thing we're going to want to do is log into our target system. You will come down here and actually open up EasyPeasy this time. Your target system and EasyPeasy should always be in a host-only configuration when we're performing these type of labs. And where did we discover this service from? Well, we did perform a Nmap scan, and we also performed a Nessus scan. And we found VSFTPD smiley face backdoor. And as we can see here, the version of VSFTPD running on the remote host has been compiled with a backdoor. Attempting to log in with a username containing a smiley face triggers the backdoor, which results in a shell listening on the port 6200. The shell stops listening after a client connects and disconnects from it. An unauthenticated remote attacker could exploit this to execute arbitrary code as root on the system. It's critical. It gives you a solution right there and a base score, as well as the target that we discovered it on. Now this was at the time 130. Let's see if that 130 target is still sitting out there. Again, this is remote. This is as if we are not walking up to the physical workstation, but we have access to the subnet it resides on, and we're going to try to gain access to it. First thing we want to do is confirm we do not have external access. We're good to go. Now let's see if we have access to this target still. And we are receiving a ping. I did go through a reboot before this, so I would like to make sure, and I'll do this in a new tab, I would like to make sure that I am not pinging myself. I am not. I'm 131, and over here I pinged 130, and 130 is responding. That must be this guy over here. So let's go ahead and start by getting Metasploit ready to run. It's service PostgreSQL. Hit enter. Nope. Start. You have to tell the service what you're trying to do, and I'm trying to start it. There we go. Service Metasploit start. There we go. And type in MSF console. Now, if you are having problems connecting, you're getting errors when you try to start MSF console, check the lab manual for this lab, page 88, 89, and I kind of walk you through the most common things you're going to run into. Really, the only error that I covered is if you did not successfully start these services prior to doing this. MSF console is going to rely on these services before it's going to bring you up into a functionable state. So here we are. This is our little banner for the day. Let's go ahead and do a search. VSFTPD, and see what we have as an exploit. There we go. If you have this on your system, you are vulnerable to this exploit right here. Here's a disclosure date. The last rank we did with the Windows system was great. This one is listed as excellent. There's the version that you must be running in order for this to work. So let's go ahead and use this exploit. If you want, well, let me show you an easier way to do this. I'm going to type it out and tab through it just because I'm used to doing that. You can also select all this, right click, copy, and you can come down here, right click, paste, hit enter, and you are now set to use that exploit. The next thing that we will want to do is to show our options. So if we're going to run this exploit, what options must we set? You can see that the port we're going to use is 21. That makes sense because it's an FTP target. Know your ports. Port 20 and 21 are for FTP. There's your rhost. Rhost meaning that we need to set a remote address. What is this guy's address? Well, if you remember, we pinged it when we first started this lab off. For me, I'm in the .40 area, but it's address 130. Let's go ahead and cancel that. Come back over here and we will set our host to 192.168.40.130. You know what? Case sensitive, lowercase. This is upper, our host. 192.168.40.130. Next step here is we need to actually view our payload. Let's do a show. Payloads. And when we run this particular exploit, that is the payload that we have available to us. So let's go ahead and set a payload of CMD Unix interact. Hit enter. Now we have this exploit set to go. We have a payload set to use. And again, let's just confirm our options one more time to make sure that we're not missing anything. We have an R host and an R port. We have a target already specified, and I think we are good to go. With everything set, we're at a point where we can go ahead and exploit now. And as you can see, what's happening here is we read in our PDF report, we have a command shell session 1 open, 192.168.40.131. This is us. And we are in that high port range. Remember our dynamic ports, it's going to actually connect here to our target on port 6200 as it indicated. This might not look like we've done much, but this is actually a prompt over here on this server. We now have access at this point in time. If you want to know, you type who am I, you're root on this server. So if you're not familiar with what root is basically the equivalent to an administrator account on Windows. We have total control over this workstation at this point in time. If we wanted to provide some kind of proof of concept of management to show how severe of a exploitation this was, we could type in uname A, hit enter, show, hey, this is the system we gained access to, the time that we gained access to it, the actual level of authentication that we had. If you want to know what processes are running on the system, you type PS, you'll see everything here that's up and running currently on the system. And if you want to really indicate why this is such a big deal, remember who we are. We're root. So we could go as far as cat/etsy/PASSWD, hit enter, and view the passwords on the system. Now this is not the entire process of capturing passwords, but that is a good first step to getting us to where we want to go. You now at this point in time will complete this lab by taking a screen capture of what you've done. Remember, capture everything in here. I want the date, I want the window. Show me the results of something like this and what you have displaying on your system. And that screen capture will be submitted for your grade for this lab. When you're all done here, you'll hit Control-C. It'll ask you, do you want to abort the session? You're aborting the session with this workstation here, with this server. Say yes. From here you can exit, and from here you can power off, because we are now done with lab 5. If you don't want to power off just yet, stay in there and play around. See what you can do, see what you can find. That system's going to halt. Come over here, and you can simply power this one off this way. Excellent job.